Hello, this is Perri Mink. It is Friday, December 14th, 2018, and again, I didn't sleep well last night, and yesterday I posted my YouTube video about more information and thanking supporters, and during my recording, I noticed that the video delayed, and then it started again, and then I went and checked it and watched the video, and again, I'm being sabotaged through my electronic devices, and it's disturbing because they're trying to make me into some kind of unstable person, unstable female, and I'm not. And that's what they're trying to hide from the public, because these women, these bully women in the government don't want me to succeed. And I don't edit the video because right now I don't know how. It's still new to me how to even work with these cameras, and that's what I wanted to talk about a few things today. This is the, let's see, where is it? This is the camera that the law enforcement sabotaged, and I had it, let's see if I could do this. It was in my window, back window, where the back door is, where the plants are, and they killed my pink Abattoon. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I love gardening. There's nothing criminal about gardening. I'm not a professional gardener. I don't even belong to any gardening clubs. I can't remember names of plants. I just know a few of my favorite plants, like the Elvira plant, and this Abattoon plant was new to me, and it was new to me as to how to take care of it, and it was blooming, and I had to get advice on how to help it bloom, and now it's all gone. I special ordered it online, and I don't have that beautiful plant anymore because the government, through the vicious, cruel women and men in law enforcement, with that hatred, that energy of hatred just projecting out towards me and terrorizing me. So that camera doesn't work. Okay, I can't get, this is the opposite. When I sit here with something, it all goes in the opposite direction on the video. And then now this one doesn't work. And I paid for these cameras, and by law I'm allowed to have these cameras. By law we're allowed to feel safe in our environment, and I don't feel safe. I'm scared. And recently, let's see if I could do this again. Measure X was passed here in Contra Costa County for safer, stronger Martinez, and I just looked online, and that measure passed with a yes vote of 72.86% and a no vote of 27.14%. And I looked online, and the city council here in Martinez says that it's creates a safe, is for public safety and quality of life here in Martinez, and that's why they increased the taxes. That's what the measure was for, and the people were to vote on it, and then if it passed, then they would implement these issues that they're speaking of on their website page, the Martinez City Council. And it includes things like maintaining Martinez's senior center and programs. I can't even go down there. And by the way, the law already said prior to this that citizens have the right to quality of life and public safety. That was already the law before, and they were just asking for more money and specifying to the public what the money would go towards. And so it says Measure X includes strict accountability provisions, such as independent citizens' oversight of spending, public spending reports, annual independent financial audits, and all funds must be used only in Martinez. Measure X funds are protected by law from the state. No funds can be taken by Sacramento. Well, again, like I said, I'm not safe here. And the U.S. Supreme Court in June of 2018, just several months ago, passed the law that law enforcement cannot go into our electronic devices, period. That to disable my electronic devices is completely illegal. But to go into it at this point, that's completely illegal. So I don't know why the government is still allowing them to hack into my devices and sabotage my efforts in seeking justice and demanding justice. I'm demanding justice. It's my right. I was working all those years. It was my money. That's my property. I bought the condominium based on my credit rating. That's my right. I sold my condominium and I received a higher return because I did home improvements. I did that. Nobody helped me except for the plumbing. I couldn't do the plumbing. And I bought the mobile home for $45,000 cash. That's my property. That's my sanctuary home. Now, I was looking at some paperwork and some other items, and I brought them out to show them because two white male men on my Facebook who I didn't know prior to 2012, I received friends that I could send out requests to through a world-known, supposedly animal rights activist. And I was asking for assistance with my Perri Mink versus Encina Veterinary Clinic et al. Because it's a heinous fraud scheme. And so that person in 2012, gave me a list of his friends, and then I could send out friend requests. It was all new to me. I had only signed up for Facebook because I was fighting for my rights and fighting for Elvira's rights. It's my property. It's my property. My credit cards are in my name. That's my property. The money is mine. It's my property. Elvira, although a lot of people may not approve of it, dogs are our property. That's the law. And so I started looking again because they keep degrading me. The women in the law enforcement have been degrading me severely to the point of making me, suppressing me and behind my back lying about me to other people who might be able to help me, and in doing so alienate everyone, I guess, that would be wanting to speak out against this, and then making me look like an outcast, and then therefore nobody will step forward to help me, at least not communicate with me on a private level, and then go out into the community and then speak in public. Although I did meet one journalist during the time of the District Attorney Mark Peterson legal issues that he was being processed for indictments and conviction for perjury, and again, he claims he's a Christian, but he's not a Christian. He's can't even live with boundaries. He's a glutton, he's stealing money so he could go to movies and living out this fantasy, which is not a Christian. If you are a practicing Christian, you do not act out in certain manners. You have a certain behavior, and you also are not addicted. You could have an addiction to food, to sex, to shopping, addiction, a jealousy addiction. I mean, it goes on. And addictions cause problems. Addictions cause danger to other people's lives. All right, so going back to my character, to my my quality of high quality of ethics, work ethics, and they keep diminishing that. They keep pretending like I'm scum of the earth, like I'm trash, as if I'm causing problems in society, as if I'm ethical, as what Judge Barbara Zuniga claimed I was, and that was a lie. I proved that it was a lie, and that's what started the peremptory challenge, and then the disqualification of judge. And again, she ignored it. She didn't answer in 10 days, which is the law, and that made it an automatic disqualification of judge. And they didn't follow through with that law either. Everything they're doing down there at the Superior Court here in Martinez, and probably other courthouses here in the county, is illegal, is criminal behavior. It's hardcore criminal behavior. And Diana Becton, now the district attorney, is a criminal, and she's still practicing down there. So I started going through my paperwork again, and I didn't post this on Facebook, and it's from an employer that I was working for when I went back to college for the second time, and that Avis Rent-A-Car is a employee-owned company, and on November 11th, 1993, let's see if I can get this in here every time I do this, it says, "Dear Perri Mink, this is the kind of customer service that exemplifies our we try harder spirit. Thanks for a job well done, and keep up the great work. Sincerely, Jerry, I'm not sure if Karcher, I guess, District Attorney." And it went into my personal, or it went into a personal file. And for the women in the government to keep slandering me behind my back and discrediting me, ruined my character, ruined my reputation, destroyed my life, completely destroyed my life, destroyed my health. I'm suffering as I'm speaking with you. My health just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I have active bladder, which is a symptom of anxiety. I have some other problem with my the process of your movement, your food, right, goes down into your stomach, and then it goes to the intestines, and then it has to come out, and I'm having problems with that. I'm had horrible throat issues, and I still feel, very tense in the throat. It's not a quality of life. I've had migraines. I'm having, my chest hurts. I try to calm down, and it makes my breathing not relax, and I try to relax. As I said, I'm not even able to go to the doctor. They keep interfering with every activity that I proceed with. That's not quality of life. That's the Gestapo's Jewish ghetto, where the Germans went after the Jews and put them in ghettos and then watched every little thing that they did. And I've read articles about how they would get so afraid, they couldn't leave, they would change their voice. I noticed in my video from yesterday that I could hear my accent come out a little bit at times. And the women in the judicial system, they're just making fun of me overall as a person. My gender, my skin, my voice, my facial expressions, my hair, my height, my weight. It's so sick. I mean, it is, I can't even describe the pressure and the weight that I'm having to carry because they won't allow me to live life freely, which is the United States. The freely doesn't mean free to do whatever you want, free to have bad behavior, free to behave criminally, free to behave unruly, free to infringe on people's spaces. It means freedom from a hierarchy. The Catholic Church has influenced our legal system so much that they're operating as a hierarchy. And so the general public, the citizens of cities, states, or cities, counties, and states don't have rights. That's and I proved it, that it is coming from the Catholic Church based on evidence. And that means that that is a cult that is terrorizing people in this country, citizens, perfectly decent citizens in this country. So again, like I said, they're trying to make it look like, oh yeah, so I was talking about the friends on Facebook, two of the white men who claim to be animal rights activists. Some of them have been mocking me through their posts on Facebook based on people contacting them to then harass me through Facebook and other places. And so a lot of the documents and photos I've been posting really are in my possession. They're my property, and those are real documents. And so I have other references. I have copies of references that were written on my behalf. I have, certificates. I have receipt documents, photos. I have a lot of photos that I did get back, which is distressing me because I had the loose photos in a box, but they were organized, and I could tell that my personal items had been moved, and they ransacked my home, my sanctuary home in Concord, and at the mobile home park, Town and Country Mobile Home Park. And they had ransacked it, and so they had put things in other boxes. And when I had talked to the ex-Catholics who they were the only choice I had, the attorney Jane Elliott, who was not representing me, but worse, was harassing me and denying me my rights, depriving me of my civil rights, and lying about me. She's pathological lying about me to other people. And so I had even spoken with this ex-Catholic, and both of them when I was forced to Napa State Hospital, kidnapped there. I fought tooth and nail, trying to keep from going there. And right now, it's so distressing to me that I can feel my anxiety level skyrocketing, and I'm shaking on the inside. And this is what I'm talking about. You can't see it at this stage, but it's painful. It's very painful. Just at this stage, I can feel it shaking inside my body. And so the ex-Catholic had even told me that, and asked me questions, that they were going to pack my belongings and move it to their storage facility because her brother was a mover, professional mover. That's what they told me. That's what Jane Elliott told me. And then they would store it for me until, I didn't know what was going on, so I couldn't say, oh, I'm going to be out of here in 3 weeks, or I just didn't know. And I actually was so afraid because the wording that was being projected at me, not only at Napa, but through the judges in Contra Costa County who were supposed to be all recused. And again, a Contra Costa County judge in Richmond made a decision about me going to Napa State Hospital, which was again illegal. Okay, so the camera just stopped again, so I'm resuming now.
As soon as I saw it stop, I stopped talking. And that judge made a decision about me going to Napa State Hospital, and that was illegal. I was incarcerated at the time, wrongly incarcerated. And by the way, the detention facility in West County and Richmond really does deprive people of medical care, and they deprive people of food, and that's what they were doing to me. And it's illegal, and it reflects the Catholic Church's behavior that these judges were perpetrating on me, an innocent victim of a veterinary fraud scheme, heinous veterinary fraud scheme. So the two white men on Facebook were posting, like, mocking my post of photos. And so I have I have my photo albums back. When I got out of the behavioral health court program in, I believe it was November, was when I graduated and I didn't have to go back anymore. And the two Catholics, ex-Catholics, had told me that my property was in storage, and I was paying for it with the money that I was getting from Social Security disability. But I wasn't able to go through it because I had nowhere to go through it at. I was couch surfing again at that point I was in November of 2014. I was being harassed by the women at the clean and sober home. And they again were trying to make it look like I was the problem, like I was attacking people, like I was making fun of everybody there, but it was the other way around. And they kept trying to set me up to make a bad situation worse. So all of them, the entire residents there at the clean and sober home that I was forced to in Concord and Bayview Circle, all said that I was going after these other women. So all the women that lived there were saying that I was going after all of the other women, when in fact that wasn't the case at all. I had a roommate that I was helping clean on her chore day because she wasn't making it back in time. I was coexisting. Most of the time I was gone during the daytime because I was leaving very early in the morning to go to the PRRC, which is at the VA here in Martinez. And so it just kept snowballing to the point where they said, okay, well, you can't stay here anymore. So we're moving you over to the TLC Clean and Sober Home, over in, I can't remember, it's the next, Bay Point is where it was. And when I got there, they started up on me again. And I could sense at that point, God, I've got to get out of here because this is just going to snowball again. So I contacted one of my clients, one of my senior clients, and she has a condo in Rossmore that's empty, but it has all her and her deceased husband's belongings. It's just she was staying in Southern California. She had several properties, and she was living in a mobile home park in Southern California because her husband didn't want to die here in the Bay Area because they were treating him horrifically too. He was in a lawsuit and they were treating him horrible. And so they left, and he didn't want to be here. I met him only one time, and they left for Southern California, and he passed away down in Southern California in a very, very peaceful setting. And so I emailed her and I asked her if it was possible if I could stay at her place, and she was coming back up for she had to take care of some issues here in Contra Costa County because she had other property and was dealing with, that property up here. And so out of desperation, out of safety, out of my safety and quality of life, again, the law is already written that we have a right to quality of life. We have a right to public safety. We have a right to live. And so out of that desperation for safety, I went and stayed at her condo, and not knowing when or if I actually got the VA HUD housing voucher, which is works with the Section 8 housing and the Contra Costa County Housing Authority, which is just down the street. It's about a 10-minute bus ride from here and close to the VA hospital. And so that's where I was staying. And so again, I couldn't check my property that was in storage. I had no idea what I would discover. I thought that the ex-Catholic told me, she said, we got all your personal property, okay, which means that they got all my personal property and now it's in storage and I can go get it when have my home again. And so finally I got this unit here, and not knowing that it was just another setup again. It was all because it's my right to live here. It's my right to live here. Okay, I was born in California. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a law-abiding citizen. But they keep trying the government here, the women and the men in the government who are terrorists, keep setting me up. Okay, I'm not setting them up. They keep setting me up to put me in a desperate situation so that I have to do something that may not be kosher. Okay, it may not be according to a rule. Okay, but my life is in danger. They're what it's called is victim or witness tampering is what it's called. That's the legal term, witness tampering. That's what they've done since I filed my civil case, Encina Mink versus Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al., doing business as Encina Veterinary Hospital. So finally, when I got to move into this unit in June 21st of 2015, I started moving my belongings into here, which meant that I was going to be going through the storage and assessing my property, and that's when it just became even more disturbing because my property wasn't all there. Important property of mine, precious property, was not there. Property was broken, intentionally broken, okay? The way that it was packed, you could tell that it was broken before it went into the box, that type of thing. The fact that my antique Brayton furniture, French furniture, and my antique Belgium furniture, that was intentionally broken, that was intentionally damaged. That furniture is my property. That furniture was bought with my money. The antique furniture, the Belgian furniture, I bought on layaway, paying a little bit every month. And I posted those receipts on my Facebook very consistently, very stable, very professionally. That's not an unstable person. I paid for my Brayton furniture, beautiful, handcrafted, very beautiful. I selected that because of how much I appreciate that craftsmanship, that crafts, the carvings. That style too is something that was very important to me too, because there is Brayton furniture from that period that's more whimsical, and this was not like it. But that was a Christian theme that I had. They come in different themes. There was like hunting themes, and mine was Christian, and but it's the people of that time frame in Brittany, France. So then I did find my photo albums, and I would make my photo albums into books, and you could see those are really my photos in there. I took these photos, and I would label some of the things. I love taking photos of food. Let's see if I can do this. There. And I don't understand how. See here, I posted these on Facebook. I posted those on Facebook. Those are really photos of me. I didn't alter these photos and then post them on Facebook as whoever was telling these other animal rights people who claim to be their animal rights people and protecting animals and fighting against corporations and things like this, and talking about being against harming women. And it was just so disturbing to see animal rights people go along with this degradation, this terrorism that includes mocking and lying and slandering and libeling and just bombarding me day in and day out. And worse, keeping me from being able to even talk to people about it, keeping me from getting assistance. Oh yes, I was talking about the journalist that was at the that I met during that outside. It was called. It was a trial. It was a public trial against Mark Peterson, District Attorney Mark Peterson, and I met a journalist there, and he was supportive, but then again, I guess somebody influenced him not to assist me. And so again, I was blocked again. Well, so again, again, here's my photo albums, and this one was this is the trip to
this is a trip to Canada. This was in, this says Eaton's Shopping Center, downtown Toronto. I bought something for my cat Shaggy. I wrote in here, bought a friend for Shag. Okay, well, Shaggy is my beloved cat. Shag is not referring to, and I didn't know this until about 1997 when I was working as an office manager for that startup internet company in Moraga, California, which is here in the county. That Moraga is where the St. Mary's College is. And one of the customer service reps I was responsible for, I believe it was her that told me what Shag referred to. And then I just didn't realize it. So, but, here again, there's a photo of me eating that was taken at the Essex Park Hotel in Toronto. I mean, I'm being degraded because they don't want to acknowledge me. So here's another photo of me. I don't think I posted that one on Facebook. And that one was in Pennsylvania at the Kitchen Kettle Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Okay, that's what it's called. Again, if that's what they want to call that city, I didn't have anything to do with it. It was on our tour. We took a bus tour from New York City through the New England states. We went to Quebec, Canada, Montreal. Then we went through Ottawa, stayed in Ottawa. We stayed in Toronto. Then we came down to the Niagara Falls on the Canada side. And then we came down to Pennsylvania. We just went, so that you might recognize the White House, okay? Although I didn't take a tour in the White House, we didn't stop there, but we went to the Lincoln Memorial. So there I am, Jefferson Memorial. The other page has a photo of my mom. I don't want to put that on there right now. I didn't cover it up with one of my cat faces. Again, see here? Let's see if I can do this. Oh, God, this is so difficult. Okay, so there I am at the Liberty Bell. This is me. That's me. I didn't alter these photos. And then all of a sudden I'm, talking nonsense on Facebook. And that's what they're making me feel like, and it's cruel and inhumane, and to keep doing it to me. So here's my book, Hawaii and Canada, but we used a different kind of camera. It's a Polaroid, so I can't open this, but you can kind of see that the photos are with that. I posted that one on Facebook. That's me. Okay? I posted that on Facebook. That's me when I went on my trip with my mother to Japan at age 16, and let's see if I have that's when we got to Japan. That's my grandma at her home, and my grandma is a very loving person, and I was interested in genealogy, and my mom told me through my grandma on my mom's side that they are from Russia, through the family history, but they didn't clarify exactly how that was. But it stayed in my head all that time. I'm trying to find the photo that I posted on the photos just don't stay in here, and I've never redid these photos, you know, put them in a different photo album. But I don't know where I posted. Oh yes, here it is. I posted this one on Facebook, and that's a real photo. It's with a Polaroid. I didn't alter it in any way. I don't think this camera focuses, but I look very much like my grandma's youngest sister. And 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 so after I got my DNA, I found out that the DNA through the history of the ancestry line, the ethnicity is goes to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, if I'm pronouncing those correctly, and they used to be under Russian rule, and that may be why they're, you know, why Grandma told me that they're from Russia. And so I'm very ethnically diverse, and through my life, I mean, I've had white friends that never even knew that there was Asian in me. And I've had some people, doctors, question me, are you, you know, do you have Asian in you? And I've always been open-minded, and I don't have any negative thoughts about ethnicities, different ethnicities and so forth. But I think that Barbara Zuniga and Judith Sanders and Marianne O'Malley are racist, as I posted in my Patch article, that the Catholics are teaching that in their schools to be racist, and then they start mocking. That's like the first sign. As soon as somebody starts mocking you, that's a sign of something very, very bad. And that's what they did. They just kept going after me, but not telling me to my face, but you could tell from the results of their actions and their thoughts, because it starts in your head. As I said in yesterday's video, it starts in your head, and then your brain cells form the action that you want to take, and then comes out of your mouth. So I just saw the video pause for a moment. So I'll start that again. So the thought starts in your head, and then you create that idea, and then the words come out of your mouth, and then that is a reflection of you and your thoughts and ideas, and then those words create your actions. So I'm not the one doing it, and they keep trying to slander me behind my back, telling people all kinds of just really horrific things, but they're getting these other people to then act it out around me. So the pounder who was next door was doing it. My neighbor in the back, the senior woman, who I think is like 84 now, maybe, I can't remember, 80 something, 84, I think, 85. And she was doing it yesterday. And her words were, I was hanging my wet dish towels out on the banister for the back steps, and on some large branches that I picked up at the park that I'm using to make something. And I don't talk with any of the neighbors anymore, because the vile gov people have told these people around me, wherever I go, to start behaving very bizarre and condescending and degrading and mocking, and creating this unhealthy environment, this where there's no quality of life. And so yesterday I was putting out my wet
dish towels as quickly as possible, and I didn't have my headphones on. And of course, right away she comes out again and she says something like, "Oh, that's a great Chinese laundry." And of course, I can't video anything anymore because this doesn't work anymore. And so they constantly do this. Now, why the feds are allowing them to do this is sick. So all I can ask is people just please keep complaining, keep demanding. It's nonsensical. It's cruel, right? You go from just nonsensical to cruel and inhumane. I mean, that's what it is, because my property's gone. Okay, my property is damaged. It's my property. The rent control was already written on the books, and the landlord, along with the Concord City Council, conspired, and I guess the city clerk over there, Mary Ray Lehman, was going along with it too, thwarting us residents at Town and Country Mobile Home Park from being able to live according to law. And so the Peter Wang, the Town and Country Mobile Home Park owner, had his manager, which was Frank Hall, harass us. And I had to write letter after letter after letter saying, look, I have a weak system. I have to go to work. I'm a working person. I'm, weak. I just have a weak system. I've had a weak system my whole life. Now, if you're pretending I know speaky English, okay, that's unacceptable. That's not the American dream. That's get rid of these people, forget these people. We want the money. We don't care if we get it through terrorism, and we're going to keep doing it to you. No, the President of the United States, Obama, knew about this the whole time, and he did nothing about it. And now with Trump, why is this still going on? Terrorism has no place in the United States. Trump has said that. That's why he's not allowing certain countries, people from certain countries, come into this country. Somalia, Syria, there's a list of them. So why would the President Trump or President Obama or any future president want a terrorist group, which is proven, I proved it, is coming from the Catholics, the Roman Catholics, want terrorism on its own people? And so that's why I'm going to keep speaking out, because it's ruined people's lives. It's destroying people's lives. And the wicked thing about the Roman Catholic MO is that it's secret. So I talked about that yesterday. Secret, demonic. Those are the two words that you really have to keep in mind, because the Catholic Church will not claim responsibility for terrorism. And they have done this all throughout their inception, and they come from the Romans. And if you know history, when I went to school, high school, we were required to take history. I don't remember the details about the specifics of what we studied, because I was afraid all the time, because we were being harmed at home, but then when I got to school, I was being picked on too. And in the Pacific Grove Unified School District, I was even beat up by a fellow classmate, and the principal didn't do anything. And physically, I was beat up. The school prior to that, I was in the Seaside Unified School District. I'm not sure if that's what it was under, but it was in Seaside, and they really did a lot to protect the students. And they were, it was a more diverse school, and they really tended to the children's needs. And that's when I went to speech classes for my speech impediment. And although there were some things that I thought were questionable, like they had me tutor another eye disabled
student in math. And I didn't excel in math. And I didn't, years later, I thought, why did they uh, arrange for me to tutor another student in math who also had an eye disability? It didn't work out. And so Trump, um, President Trump, was being mocked in that video from MSNBC I posted yesterday on Facebook. And mocking is immoral. You know, it's an immoral behavior and something that escalates. And if you do it in public, all you're doing is teaching other people to mock. And then it just snowballs from there to get worse. It doesn't get better, it just gets worse. And in there, they talked about how they say that Trump says that he went to the best schools. Okay, well, they don't tell you that a lot of these best schools are primarily white schools. And I like to see a report on how many of these teachers and professors come from these Catholic schools and Catholic churches, and they're Roman Catholics, and then they infiltrate into these colleges, and then they start teaching their MO. Because I had a teacher in junior high school, he was a redhead male, and I really think that now that I'm so clear on the Catholic MO, the destructive aspect of it, because that teacher mocked me in class, in front of the entire classroom, right in the middle of the teaching, and mocked my accent, my voice. And I remember he forced me through intimidation in front of the other students to read. And I remember the student in front of me, a boy, was so upset because my voice was shaky and I was quivering and tears were forming, and you could just hear that. And he was in front of me, so he couldn't even see me, but he could hear it. And I remember he responded in a way to protest against what the teacher was making me do. And I really believe that that man could be a Catholic, you know, and this is what Catholics do. And they are in these, what you would call these better schools, okay? Believe it or not, I think that there should be a review on it. We need to know this because it is unacceptable to mock people. It's immoral. It's intimidation. And that is on the law books, by the way. That's a charge that I would like Barbara Zuniga, Judith Sanders, Marianne O'Malley, even Curatori, who was the executive officer at that time, was intimidating me from using the public law library there at the courthouse on Ward Street. And I am going to keep speaking out because it's my right. I'm not this person that Barbara has made me out to be. I'm not a prostitute. I've never been a prostitute. I disagree with prostitution even as a wife. A lot of women are prostituting as wives. I am totally against that. I do not believe in secret demonic sexualizing. I think that is so demeaning and the result is harmful. I don't believe in any addictions. I love chocolate and I could very well be addicted to chocolate, and so I keep it at bay. I don't gorge on it or be a glutton. You know, I'm aware of it. I address it. That's my, I guess you could call it, what do they call that when it's something that is something that is bad for you? I can't remember what the word is. that would be it. I love chocolate and I could just eat chocolate and it will make me sick, so I don't want to be sick either. But I'm not my weight even. And so I have all this, um, chubbiness on me, and even my eyelids are puffy, and I don't look like I should look. And that distresses me because they did this to me. They wanted to do this to me. Those women in the government are hardcore criminals, and the men are too. And they wanted to do this to me, to destroy me. They were hoping that I would just die. They were hoping that I would end up in the street, literally on the street, homeless, with just the clothes on me and wandering around. They damaged my 1964 Ford Falcon that I bought with my own money in 1980 for my birthday. It came around my birthday time, and they want to blame me. During the time that I was in the military, I was a teenager. I had turned 18, and I waited until 6 months, until January, the end of January, to leave for boot camp because I knew that I had a weak system, and boot camp was in Florida and the weather is hot, and I just would not be able to make through heat like that. I had a history of fainting and dizziness in the heat, even though I was hydrated. And I do have hereditary low blood pressure from my mom's side of the family. My mom has it too. And the women in the government are so cruel, they don't even want to take that into consideration. And neither did the VA. So, and they keep saying that I have no history of these things. And that's cruel in itself, cruel and inhumane in itself. The doctors are doing that. So I went to boot camp in January of in the late 1970s, and so the women in the government, the men and women in the government, want to blame me, little me. I'm tall, but little me, for the sex revolution. Okay, the schools don't teach you now. Be abstinent before marriage. God created us, and God says that our body is for creating a baby, and you should refrain from sex activity, and you need to be aware of older men that might target you and try to groom you into a sex relationship without you knowing it. And but you're young and you need to know all of this ahead of time, and we're teaching you this all through kindergarten and elementary school and junior high school and high school, and so be abstinent before marriage. You need to be married. You cannot have a pregnant woman before marriage. That, I never heard of that during school. My parents came from two different religious beliefs. My mother practicing Shinto. My father came from a Mormon upbringing from his mother, who I guess he was who's dear to his heart because he was really influenced by her. She's second generation English because her father came from England, and I posted that on Facebook, on my Facebook, under the album for the DNA. And so dad was and mom were practicing their religious beliefs by themselves, separately, in their own privacy, except once in a while we would see mom doing something that was related to Shinto.
And they had told me anyway, I don't know what they told my siblings, but they told me that you practice, if you want to practice a religion, you make that decision when you're an adult. You know, we're not going to present and tell you to practice our religion. So I didn't learn anything at home either about any religion. They never told us, hey, be abstinent before marriage. No, but my mom did practice this horrific Magdalene laundry nun tactics where we weren't supposed to have friends. And we would get a lecture for like 2 hours if I wanted to get together with somebody I knew at school for a gathering, and then I'd get a lecture. And then sometimes I would go, but I was miserable the whole time because I felt like I was doing something wrong or something. Hey, I'm not supposed to be here. Okay, so it wasn't funny at the time, but it's, you know, why do I have to say all this? Because the women and men in the government are sociopaths and their brains are fried, or, you know, they're not mentally fit to be making decisions for other people, which is what they did for me. And they just keep trying to destroy me, literally destroy me. And like I say, I'm not well. I have ailments now that are just every single day it's causing more and more problems for me, and I'm not able to go to the doctor. Well, how is that if we're supposed to have quality of life? I'm supposed to have quality of life and public safety right here in Martinez based on Measure X, okay? But that law was already on the books. We are supposed to have quality of life and public safety, but they'd been doing this all this time since I filed that civil lawsuit in in 2008. It was my right. I had a right to sue letter from the California Veterinary Medical Board for a fee dispute, not a sex offense or sex harassment. I didn't know what the guy was doing. I was there for my beloved Elvira, and I had no idea what was going on. I don't know medical. I'm dependent on the doctor. I don't even like medical. Okay, but I need medical information so I could help myself or help my family members. That's what we go there for, so we could get better. And so Barbara Zuniga, I guess she was fantasizing, because that's what they do down there at the courthouse. They're there to flirt and fornicate and find someone to have sex with, a DA man. Hey, I'll get a better job. Hey, let me have sex with that guy. Look, hey, I'm with this DA man. You know, it's in a news article that they're having sex down there. They're in sex clubs, on and on and on. I didn't know that. And so they're blaming me for the sex revolution. They're blaming me for secret demonic sexualizing. Okay, I never took a class in college. Um, um, Adults need warnings, and okay, right? A class called Adults Need Warning Signs, and then in that college class, we would learn about secret demonic sexualizing. I never thought about that. Okay. And so they're blaming me for older men in the military where I was stationed at in Whidbey Island, Washington State, who were sexualizing me and coming to me, grooming me, um, talking to me to pursue their sex endeavor. And I didn't understand it. You know, I didn't have any concepts in my brain at that young time of my life, to be able to just come out and say, I know this is proper, kosher, this is not legitimate, this is illicit. I didn't know. And to blame me, I was working in the front office of a training facility there at Whidbey Island. I arrived there as a seaman apprentice, and I was advanced to a seaman, which is an E3, and then I left there as a illustrator draftsman, but as a seaman. I didn't get promoted until I got to Illinois. But my back was turned to people
except to if you came into the office as a student and you needed help with something. But my back was turned to a much older person behind me who I had no understanding of his private life or his motives or his personal motives. I couldn't comprehend it. And I don't believe, at that time, I didn't even know what this demonic MO, where you believe in the secret demonic sexualizing, where you believe that sex is exchange for sex, right? Something is an exchange for sex. Like I described in my Patch article that the nuns, if they need help, then the priests or the seminarians are to exchange helping the nun with sex with them. And that's something that the Catholic Church is teaching, that sex is a trade-off, that if the female needs help with something, then the man would help them and the woman has to have sex with that man. Well, now that I'm at this age, I started thinking, why would Barbara and Marianne and Judith and those women treat me that way and blame me and call me degrading sex names and things like this, and call me the sex offender? Because in their culture, in the Catholic culture, like John Wayne Gacy, they are taught that you use sex to gain notoriety, you can extort somebody so that you could get ahead in life professionally. You use it in exchange for something. Sex is used. Okay, so the video just delayed for a minute, so I stopped talking
for a moment. Okay, so I'll start again. So sex in the Catholic Church is used to as an exchange, and that's prostitution. The name for that is really prostitution, but they're using it for highly educated people. And so that's where the women in the legal system have ruined the legal system, because they're doing this in the workplace. And so the workplace became more like a whorehouse. And so then you want to keep that secret because it's embarrassing, because it is considered immoral, right? If you're Catholic, you're claiming that you're a Christian. And if you're a Christian, then that would be considered immoral. So those things are kept secret, but then they're living it out. But then it's like it's a double life. And so that's why that's another reason why they keep going after me, because I'm exposing this. And so their concept is to attack the victim and blame the victim, like how the priest in the Guam case I posted on my Patch article. The priest goes after the victim. When they speak out, then the priest goes after the victim and threatens them and tries to shut them up. And then they ramp up the abuse, and then there's even more trauma. So that's what they're doing to me. They're blaming me for a 35-year-old man who was married, and I didn't understand anything about that or what he was referring to, or, it just wasn't, I wasn't comprehending it. My brain was too young, and I didn't have clear concepts about that because of the school system in our society. It's not my fault, okay? I didn't grow up in a Christian family. I didn't grow up in a Catholic family. I don't even know this demonic sexualizing that they're teaching. And, even the secret demonic sexualizing that men perpetrate on females. And so Barbara Zuniga, I guess, just kept slandering and just kept going on a rampage. Snapped. Barbara snapped. Marianne O'Malley snapped. Judith Sanders snapped. Claire Mayer snapped. Attorney Jane Elliott snapped. Diana Becton snapped. Okay, and they want to blame me for male sex addiction. Okay, I'm not a man, and why the women would then side with the male sex addict, why the females would side with the
a professional man, a doctor in a veterinary practice who's seeking sex endeavors without the client knowing it, an unsuspecting client. And again, on my patch article about this, I believe it was the patch article 2, where I talk about or 3, where I talk about the case with the doctor for the gymnast who was, didn't have any boundaries and couldn't control his urges and was harming the young female gymnast. That's just horrific, just like what Dr. Roger Johnson did, and Dr. Peter Nury and Dr. Jill Christopherson, and the interns were going along with it too. And I don't know how many of them down there are having sex with Dr. Roger Johnson, or how many clients are. This is something that needs to be out in the open. This is our right. This is our right to quality of life. This is our right to public safety. This was already on the law books, okay? Why the federal government, why President Obama, all during his 8 years, allowed the judicial system to do this to our society and make it third world is just horrific. I mean, this is third world outright degrading, ruining this country day in and day out, just day in and day out. Sick, to not even want to talk about it, to not even want to correct the heinousness of this. And so I'm going to keep talking, but I don't look like myself. I really don't. And I just have to deal with this. I'm trying to go to the YMCA, and I'm only going there like once a month average, but I'm paying on that monthly. I was qualified for their discount, and so I'm not really getting to use that program. I'm also paying into my insurance through State Farm, the same agent who went along with this vile terrorist acts by the terrorist attacks on me through their law enforcers, and denying me the right to use my insurance company and get quality service to fix my property, my vehicle. They went along with it. State Farm went along with it. And that's distressing. How is that quality of life? There's no quality of life there. There was nothing wrong with my 1964 Ford Falcon as far as the engine is concerned, as far as the carburetor was concerned. They sabotaged it through mechanics, and that was through the neighbor back here. The senior woman back here had me go to this mechanic down the street, and he took my money and he stole the carburetor. Now, why are they playing these games with me? He also damaged the wheel. I had a claim with my Corolla, not the Corolla, my Tacoma, my new Tacoma, and I had to file a claim to get a new wheel. And why are they going after me this way? Because the Catholic Church teaches to degrade, demoralize, and deprive the female. And so they're depriving me of my rights. So in the process of doing so, they mock you, they use psychological depravity. I know about this because my mother used the same tactics that she learned at the Catholic boarding school. And so that's why they damaged the wheel on my Falcon. Okay, that the mechanic down here took the carburetor. Why do you think he took the carburetor? It was the original carburetor. Why do you think that they purposely stole the carburetor on my 1964 Ford Falcon? Because they're claiming that I'm the one that pursued a 35 or something year old white male military man
who was behind me, who I didn't know who he was, who pursued me and groomed me into a sex relationship. And so they're blaming me, who was a teenager mind, and probably younger than that, because my mom just completely drained me of learning about life, and it took me like a decade just to recover and you know heal myself from taking 10 years off of my life. And so they're blaming me for that man who believed in not only secret demonic sexualizing, but also believing in that sex is an exchange. Okay, well, I didn't understand what that was. And so he was in his head doing things on his own, so that he was rationalizing in his mind that, okay, I'm having sex with this young woman. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do things for her. I didn't ask. He just did it on his own, and he rebuilt the carburetor. I never even asked about it. I didn't even think anything about it. And so they're blaming me for that. And they think that by doing so that I'm going to commit suicide, or I'm ashamed of that. Well, that's part of life. That's how we learn about life. That's how we grow in life. That's how we form our understanding about life. That's how we then if you are the type of person that's a truth seeker and you want to grow and mature in life, if you want to create a better life for yourself and for the people in your life, then you learn from your experiences. And so that's what my life is about. And I guess Barbara Zuniga and Mary Ann O'Malley and Claire Mayer and Judith Sanders, all they can think of is secretly demonically sexualizing me too, and have perpetrate their hatred for females too, which is another Catholic MO. And that's just outright sick, and has no place in law enforcement, has no place in the legal system, and has no place with mayors and city council members, has no place for government workers, has no place for hospital workers and doctors, has no place in the VA. And these women ruin the legal system. And to mock the victim of a heinous veterinary fraud scheme where they swindled me out of almost $20,000 and injured me through their heinous acts and their heinous fraud schemes, because there was more than one heinous fraud scheme, is cruel and inhumane and is hardcore criminal behavior. And I demand that these people be indicted and convicted to the full extent of the law. I demand that Diana Becton be indicted and convicted to the full extent of the law. She knew darn well that she was a recused judge, that signing some document for a bench warrant to take me into custody was an illegal act. That was just 1 month prior, less than that, I think. I think that was, I posted it on Facebook that she signed and wrote a document that all the judges in Contra Costa County were recused because they could not make a fair decision. Okay, that's not something that a presiding judge is going to forget, or presiding judge is going to think that signing a bench warrant order is just administrative. No, it's not. By law, a presiding judge who's recused and signed a document that everybody's recused is illegal. That's a criminal act. And I demand that Barbara Zuniga be indicted, convicted, because Barbara knew about my case. Barbara knew that I was defrauded by the vet practice. Judith Sanders knew that I was defrauded by the vet practice. Judith Sanders' supervisor, and I posted that on my Patch article, knew that I was not getting my rights at the mobile home park for going on rent control. They knew what they were doing.
and they are hardcore criminals, and I demand that they be indicted and convicted to the full extent of the law for deprivation of civil rights, for witness and evidence tampering, for destruction of a witness, for obstruction of justice, for intimidation, for perjury, for conspiracy. My case is still active. The statute of limitations continues, because not only are they still denying me my right, because I filed a notice of stay of proceedings, and I even got a letter back from them that says that there is no such case. Well, how could there be no such case if my case was actually in the Court of Appeal and was in the Contra Costa County? And by the way, they took down my case against Town and Country Mobile Home Park that I filed in December of 2005 regarding that the mobile home park knew that the sewage line that they are responsible for was affected by something clogging it, and that happened to be most likely is tree roots. And so both my neighbor, he kept having backups. They changed the name, like I say, this word warping. The government changed the word to backflow, but it's really a backup. And he kept getting it, and then I would get it, and he would get it. It was a chronic backflow. Okay, call it whatever you want, but the result is the same. It's damage to your property. And the mobile home park didn't want to complete the repairs, so they didn't even want to. I had to fight the whole time. Okay, remember, this mobile home park owner is like a terrorist too, and I guess they're learning it from the city council members. And so I had to sue them in small claims court, and because it really damaged my home. It went into the heater vent system. It was underneath the mobile home, but it runs up, and then the vents come up, and the air that was coming up there was making me sick because the sewage is dirty. It's contaminated. You can't drink it, and you can't even breathe it. There's articles on it. And so they just kept degrading me. And so Judah Sanders' supervisor and Judah Sanders wouldn't even protect me there with the rent control. And then regarding this small claims lawsuit, I did file it timely, and it took the life out of me just to prepare the case, because again, they're practicing this secret demonic fraud, where you keep creating this environment where there's no quality of life. You just keep perpetuating this scheme where you are terrorizing the party who seeks their rights. So even though I had the right to rent control for the renting the space for my mobile home, which I owned, they keep denying you that right that's already on law books. And then they terrorize you by just creating more and more, perpetuating and snowballing this, no, you don't have rights. And so they keep intimidating you and harassing you and constantly. And so you can't even enjoy going to work. You spend all your time off work trying to write letters and demand letters and do, this is my right to live here. This is my right to rent control. This is my right. Hey, look, I have this. This is my health issue. This is, and they never want you to live. So the law books is already written. It's already on the law books that we have a right to quality of life. We have a right to the laws on the books, right to rent control. Okay, right to medical care, right to knowledge of medical care, right to make a decision about medical care, right to our property rights, right to public safety. Okay, the judges down there, the females, ruin the legal system. Again, they got those jobs not to take care of their community. They got the jobs to F people. Okay, and so that they can go shopping, so that they could be in their club, so that they could be bully women in their cliques. so that they could brag to their coworker and their friends, hey, look, I'm dating this DA man now. It's absurd. They should abolish um, getting married to another person in your profession. Excuse me. They should abolish dating a district attorney man. They should abolish dating another attorney. Okay? They've made it so debauched, all they can think of is having sex all day. And us in the community are being affected by it. And we didn't even know what was going on, and they don't even want to talk about it. They want to keep it secret because it's scandalous, and they're criminals. It turned them into criminals, hardcore criminals, okay? They want to blame the victim, and it's coming from the Catholic Church, okay? It's the MO from the Catholic Church, and they're doing it all over the place, and it needs to stop. So I'm just revved up again with being angry, and I will not, I'm not going to settle for what they're doing. They didn't do me a favor. This is not a settlement. And Barbara's mind is so warped that she probably thinks that this is a settlement. It's not a settlement. I'm not, what is it called? It's in my upcoming Patch 5 article that I'm permanently delusional. I'm not permanent delusional. The men in my life can't stand that I want to be realistic. And so once I start talking to them and I say things like, sex is not the answer, they just go away because they're looking for a sex endeavor, but not talking about it. That's not my fault. Don't blame me because certain people that I meet in my life are pursuing a secret sex endeavor. Okay, I'm not a prostitute, and I'll keep saying it. And except before, I wouldn't just come out and say I'm not a prostitute. I would be very non-condescending. I would be very realistic. I would be very respectful towards that person. I would speak in a very mentoring manner. The only time that I would really ignore is when they would become infringing on my space, meaning either my sanctuary home or my own body. Then that is really, they've totally infringed on my space, or they've somehow tried to touch me in a setting that is inappropriate, and so this secret demonic terrorism, even that they're doing on people one at a time, and we were being kept from speaking out, is just cruel and inhumane. And those women ruin the legal system. And for these men to go along with it and then to call themselves Christian, even the landlord, or not the landlord, but the owner of the Town and Country Mobile Home Park calls himself a Christian. And that is just absurd. He is a terrorist and he's a criminal. Okay, and I want him indicted and convicted for denying me and the other tenants there at Town and Country Mobile Home Park for mail fraud. And that's what they did to me. They sent me numerous rent increases through the mail, and that's mail fraud. Then they posted things on my door. That's intimidation. What kind of people are running this community? Criminals, hardcore criminals. I want this out in the public, and so I'm going to keep talking because you keep asking for more money, but you're not creating quality of life and public safety for us here in the community. So I'm going to continue working on this, but like I say, my health is not well at all, and I still can't go to the doctor, and that's their fault. They need to take responsibility for it. They need to step up to the plate, and the Catholic Church needs to claim responsibility for all this terrorism that they're doing in this community and in California and all over this country. And we need the President of the United States and to deal with these Catholics who have gotten the top positions in these gov positions like Panetta and I guess uh, the oh gosh, his name escapes me. Obama appointed him, and I wrote him a letter. Oh, yeah, it's in my Patch article, but he's a Catholic, and you need to get them out. They're not helping this country. They are teaching secret demonic sexualizing. It doesn't matter if you are a male or a female. If somebody targets you and they are practicing and perpetrating secret demonic sexualizing, it is destructive. It's not helpful. Okay, so Winnie's been sleeping this whole time in my lap. So here's Sleepy Guy, and I'm going to continue working on this, and I'm asking for people to fight back too, to demand, as I said, and like I say, they keep lying about me, and it is not true. And you need to be smart enough to realize that if you go after me, you're basically saying, I agree with this secret demonic terrorizing, and you are part of ruining the United States of America. You are part of ruining the state of California. You are part of ruining Contra Costa County. And you are part of ruining Martinez and Concord and all these other places. And these mayors that won't even allow us to talk in public about it, like Martinez here, I can't even talk at the council meeting about this, are part of it. They want to suppress us and oppress us and get rid of us and not allow us to talk about this secret demonic terrorizing, secret demonic sexualizing, and the Catholic MO. And so any way I can, as I said before, I posted on Facebook, I can't even go on Nextdoor. They blocked me from Nextdoor. Isn't that a shame? Isn't that a disgrace? Okay, and the Catholics here in the community keep going after me. That's who's going after me, and that's a crime in itself. And it's cruelty, cruel and inhumane. That's what they believe in, and they keep doing it. All right, so demand quality of life. That's what they're telling us. Public safety, that's what they're telling us. 72.86% passed, yes. Martinez residents, yes, to quality of life and public safety through the law enforcement, through the judicial system, through the legal system, through any attorney here, including Jane Elliott, who I would like to see incarcerated and sent to a federal mental hospital for pathologically lying about me, and then go back to the federal state prison for deprivation of civil rights, for terrorism on me, for harassing me, for obstruction of justice and destruction of a witness, and everything else they can charge her with, as well as Marianne O'Malley, Claire Mayer, Diana Becton, Judah Sanders, Barbara Zuniga, any of the men too, like Steve Bolin, who went to St. Mary's College, Ignacio Ruvolo, who lives in Rossmore, who was the Court of Appeal judge, James Marciano, Banks, Donovan, or I'm sorry, I can't remember the name right now. It starts with a D. Even the witness experts that I spoke with, veterinarian Dr. Emswiller, I can't remember, and Dr. Jean Dodds, both of them were resorting to this type of terrorism where you hold evidence, and I had to ask for my documents back, and even my x-rays. I had to call the Riverside police or sheriffs or whoever I called to get my x-rays back from Dr. Jean Dodds, and I want her indicted and convicted.
And if anybody else was involved in this, I want them indicted and convicted too. I want Dr. Roger Johnson indicted and convicted, Dr. Jill Miller, Dr. Peter Nuri. This is hardcore criminal behavior. It's equivalent to the horrific Fatah case in Michigan, where the Lebanese doctor was medically torturing his patients, hundreds of patients he was doing this to for years and years, and they believed him because we trust the doctor. That's what we do. Patients and clients, family members trust the doctor. It's in the law books. They are supposed to behave a certain way. That's how they got their license, and they're supposed to be abiding by that law. And for these judicial officers to cover this up is hardcore criminal behavior, and it's organized crime. And anybody that was connected to it, even the attorney that I was referred to, Bruce, he was the first one that I contacted. I can't remember his name, but he referred me to Corey Evans, attorney Corey Evans in San Francisco. And he, I believe, was somehow associated with the Santa Clara University, which is also Catholic, if I did my homework correctly. And so I'm disturbed by that. And if he was involved with that, with this heinous veterinary fraud scheme, I would like him indicted and convicted too. And David Livingston, who was deploying sheriff's deputies to harass me during the civil case. Anybody involved in this, I demand, be indicted and convicted to the full extent of the law. Just like Operation, it's called Operation Gaylord, and they indicted and convicted politicians. I mean, my representative George Miller went along with it and mocked me. And I wrote to Mike Thompson, and I never even got a word back. Lois Volk never did anything, and she's the female. You have to wonder why these people would go along with it. And that we need to know. That's what we should be spending on in the news, not this mocking of the president, not pretending that Obama was worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize for human rights and women's rights. No, he's not. And Obama needs to return the Nobel Peace Prize. All right, thank you for listening. Until next time.